There were 7 houses that were impacted by rounds fired by the suspect. There were 11 vehicles, to include a fifth wheel RV, that were impacted by rounds fired. There were 5 other injured vehicles, victims' vehicles, that were struck by gunfire. They left and took themselves to the ER and were treated themselves. There were approximately 176 rounds that we are aware of at this time of casings that were located of caliber .223. 141 of those rounds that we can show at this time were fired from the residence of the suspect. The empty AR-15 was left at that location, and the suspect then obtained the 9mm and the .22 caliber firearm and moved south towards the church. We're still finalizing the number of rounds fired, but at this time, the best information that we have at this time is that the subject fired at least 18 rounds from the church in the volley of fire exchanged by the suspect and law enforcement officers. The suspect engaged officers and was killed in front of the First Church of Christ at 713 North Dustin.
As we had units responding, the heroics from the first responders, San Juan County Regional EMS, Farmington Fire Department, they had to make split decisions on accessing patients and getting patients out of that area and to the hospital for treatment. With that, there is an update on the count. As of yesterday, we had 10 total victims and a rough number on treated and released on scene. So the treated and released on scene is increased to 7 treated and released on scene by San Juan EMS. That number is likely to change still.
One of the questions that was asked yesterday was how many rounds totally, how much ammo was available to the suspect. And to the best of our ability, it's over 1,400 rounds were either on the suspect and he had used them, or they were still in some of the weapons, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or they were inside the house that this all started from. So the suspect had access to a lot of ammunition. There were also 10 other weapons of various calibers that were at the residence. The suspect had a rifle and 2 pistols, but he had access to potentially 10 other weapons that were at the residence. The weapons that the suspect utilized was an AR-15 and then a .22 caliber pistol and a 9mm pistol. The last 2 is the suspect took with him as he began walking, and he was firing around the neighborhood and firing at other cars and houses. The AR-15 he used at the scene initially at his residence, fired a bunch of rounds off, hitting several people, and then discarded the weapon into some bushes near the residence where we found it. The weapon, the AR-15 still had a round in the chamber and a magazine with rounds in it. And when he discarded it, I'm not quite sure why he made that decision to discard it at that point, but he did. But as he leaves the residence and he begins walking, he discards the .22 caliber pistol. That is still found with a round in the chamber and is loaded, still has ammunition in it. He discards it anyway. So what we're showing you is the map, and some of this goes to the difficulty that we've had in presenting to you exactly what happened. It isn't a nice contained scene where our officers are able to keep everything and we can count stuff pretty easily. It's spreading throughout the neighborhood. He's firing at different people. He's firing at different cars and buildings as he's walking, and then begins discarding stuff. So discarded the AR-15 at the scene, discards the .22 as he's walking. He's also wearing bulletproof vest, similar to what the police would wear. So it's similar to what a police officer would wear. It has the soft armor in it, but then he's also, we think it may be homemade. He's got steel plates in it as well. and is confronted by the police. So he actually is wearing the vest, we believe, in one of the ring videos that we'll be releasing likely tomorrow. And then by the time we confront him at the final battle place, he's removed it for whatever reason. Our initial report from the family of the suspect is that he was struggling with mental health issues. We'll wind up finding in the next couple of days what medication, if any, he was taking. If he was under a doctor's care in some form or fashion, we will learn that and we will pass that on to you in coming days.